Hello, everyone. Welcome back to I've Been There. I'm Shelby Ray, and this is episode 3. If you've been following along, you know we've talked about my personal journey as well as tips for overcoming self doubt. Today, I want to build on that conversation by exploring what it means to truly start fresh, how to find the resilience to pick yourself up and keep going, no matter how many times life knocks you down. One of the biggest lessons I've learned is that every ending is really just the beginning of something new. For me, that showed up when I decided to leave a healthcare career and pursue social selling. I'd been in healthcare for over 20 years. Not only did I face the fear of the unknown, but I also worried I'd lose my sense of identity. After all, I'd been in healthcare for so long, it felt like who I was. And that's exactly who I was. And I always wanted to be in healthcare. From the time I can remember as a small child, 3, 4, 5 years old, I wanted to be a doctor. It was my dream. I just knew that that was the path that I was going to be on. And even in high school, and let me just tell y'all, school was just not for me, which is really not a good thing to have if you want to pursue being a doctor. But it wasn't that I loved learning. I loved education. I still love to learn today. I love to research things. I love history. I loved going to the library, all of that. But I had a really hard time sitting in a classroom and being lectured to. Have you ever heard of people that they're more hands-on? Well, that's me. For instance, I can play the piano, but I learned to play the piano by sound because that is how my grandmother taught me. I cannot read any music notes whatsoever, but I can play a little bit on the piano just because I play just by sound, by doing. So that's how I learn, is by doing. So sitting in a classroom and just being lectured to wasn't my cup of tea. And but there were different programs. There was a specific program when I was probably a freshman in high school that you could go to one of the local hospitals. And do you remember seeing in TV shows? Even today, I think you can see those in the TV shows where you can sit above the ORs, the operating rooms, and you're in this glassed area and you can look down over and watch them do surgery and things like that. Well, they had that program here in Memphis, Tennessee, in a local hospital, and I was part of that program, and it was so cool and it was so neat. And it just fueled that fire for me to be in healthcare. Also, what also fueled that fire was a TV show. Let me tell you, got to comment and let me know if you remember the show Saint Elsewhere. It was a great TV show. It was all about all of these people in a hospital, and they were, in life and death situations and in the ER. And I loved it. It was just something in me. It was down to my soul. And that's where I knew I wanted to be. So I never ended up being a doctor. I did end up in healthcare, though, for 20 years. And I started as a secretary in healthcare and worked my way up. I ended up being an EMT and working in a local ER department for 20 plus years. I also rode on the ambulance and I did some 911 calls. I did everything except be a doctor. However, the one thing that everybody identified me with was healthcare, was the emergency room. And I thrived on it. I loved trauma. I love the excitement. I love the beauty of taking care of someone and they came in with these tragic events. I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it unless you're in healthcare. It's just that sense of beautiful pride that you have that you helped someone. whether it be because they stubbed their toe or they had a heart attack or they had been in a car wreck or whatever the case may be. If the outcome was this beautiful event that they got to walk out of that hospital or we got to make a difference, that's what fueled my fire. Okay. And so that's what I identified myself with through those years. And after 20 plus years in healthcare, it wasn't the same for me anymore. There was a lot of diversion and there was a lot of clickiness. And the clickiness is what really got me at the end. I'll just be honest with you. In all of those people that I cried with and laughed with and hugged and saw babies being born and marriages and divorces and all the things we went through in life for those 20 plus years, I don't talk to a single person from that time in my life. And I never really even thought about that until today when I was doing this podcast. And it's kind of sad, but I also find beauty in that. Because what you have to decide in life is that there are different chapters. And that was a chapter of my life where I married, I divorced, I had babies, I raised my children. I did all of that. There was so much that happened in those 20 years. And not just for me, but everybody around me. And so now that that chapter is closed, my children are now grown. I am no longer married to the husbands I had in those 20 years. I've moved on, and it was very, very depressing when I left that in the beginning because I didn't leave on the best of terms. I felt like I didn't even leave on my terms. I knew I needed to do something different, but when you're in something, no matter what that is, whether you're a chef, whether you are a shoe salesman, whether you are an insurance salesman, whether you are, working at Target or whatever the case may be, when you've put so much time and effort and energy and 20 years into something, even though you know deep down that that chapter is closing, that it's kind of over, it's very, very difficult to take the step out of it because that's all you've known. And those 20 plus years, you have to understand that that was from the time I was 25, 26, 27 years old to 50. That is the bulk of those years of growing and learning and doing all the things as a mom and a wife and all of that. And it is hard to tell yourself you need to close that door. But I did. And it was scary. And I went through a period of my life for several years of depression and anxiety and just being lost. Even though I knew that I needed to do something different, be somewhere else, I really didn't know what that was. Because again, from the time I was 3, 4, 5 years old, all I ever wanted to be was a doctor and be in healthcare. So then I started my personal development and I started figuring out who I was other than being a healthcare worker, a mother, and a wife. Because those were the 3 things that I was. And I didn't know anything else. And so what I did is when I started doing my personal development, I found out what my passions were. I wanted to help people and not just everybody, not just all people. Specifically, I wanted to help women. So once I got to doing that and starting to hone in on what my passions and purpose and all of that was, is how I came up to getting into social selling and coaching women and showing them that they didn't have to stay being who everybody else thought they were. And you don't have to stay and be even who you thought you were. Not forever, not for your entire life. You can change. You can do something different. And different does not mean bad. Different does not mean failure. Different just means different. It just means you've chosen another path and you find the beauty in that. And here's what I discovered. It never is pretending that everything is okay. It's about acknowledging the challenges and moving forward anyway. So you heard all about my doubts in episode 2. And every time I leaned into the new path, I found a little more strength that I didn't know I had. Now I've made new connections. I've learned new skills. And ultimately, I found a sense of purpose I never even knew I was missing. It is such a beautiful path. So here's what I want you to learn and I want you to embrace. We're going to have to shift our perspectives. Instead of seeing an ending as failure, like I said, we're going to have to look at it as a detour or a redirection. Ask yourself, what could this make possible for me now? If I made these changes, what could that mean for me? Remember, often closed doors lead us to unexpected opportunities. And that's what I discovered. When I closed that chapter on healthcare and I closed that chapter of being in the ER, I discovered these beautiful opportunities. We also need to establish some support systems. Remember in episode 2, I told you life is not meant to be done by yourself. You're not meant to be alone. And it's so much easier to bounce back when you have people cheering you on. Whether it's a mentor, a best friend, or an online community, which is what I found, whoever it is, you need to surround yourself with those voices that remind you of your worth, remind you that you can do whatever it is on your heart to do, that the path is your path. It is your journey. And we just lock arms and encourage one another on that path. So many years ago, I had a very good friend of mine, and I thought about her the other day, and we have not spoken in many, many, many years. But I guarantee you, if I could find her phone number today, I could call her and it would be just like we never had 20 plus years between the times that we've talked. But she had a saying, and I'm reminded of it all the time. And I smile every single time I think about what she said. And this is what she said. She would look at me when I would say, I need to make a decision, or I don't know what answer I need, or I don't know how to choose something. She always looked at me and said, it's your red wagon. Push it or pull it. I'm here with you. And she meant that. And I mean it for you. Find someone that's always with you, whether you're pushing your red wagon or you're pulling it. Find that one person that's going to walk beside you with every journey. I talked about personal development. Daily rituals are very, very, very important. Okay. A constant morning or evening routine grounds you in challenging times. It might include like journaling like I do, or meditation, reading an inspirational quote. You know I'm big on those. Or even taking a walk. You also have to celebrate your small wins. Resilience builds momentum. Every time you accomplish something, no matter how small it is, no matter how minute you may think it is, take a moment to acknowledge it. Take a moment to say, girl, you did it. I'm so proud of you. High five, sister. Those small wins accumulate into major victories over time. It's what's going to push you to do the next step. It's what's going to push you on those days that you wake up. And let me just tell you, I wake up with these days too, where you're like, I don't know if I can do it today. I just can't do it today. I don't have the will to do it today. I feel like I'm spinning my wheels. I feel like I'm getting no traction whatsoever. I'm questioning whether or not this is really my path because I'm not getting anywhere. Those small wins push you to that next step where you're like, I'm going to do it for one more day. And that one more day, you'll find another small win in that, which pushes you to the next day. So stay curious, keep learning. When you're open to learning new skills, exploring new paths, becoming more adaptable, all of those things create who you are. And adaptability is at the core of resilience because it means you can pivot instead of breaking when challenges arise. It means that you can keep going. So find something to learn about each and every day. For me, that usually means finding an app on my phone or the computer to make my work easier, to edit videos or to record podcasts or whatever the case may be, or a photo or whatever. Find something to learn about so you can adapt and pivot when need be. So if there's one message I want you to walk away with today, it's this. Every challenge you face has the potential to be a stepping stone if you choose to see it that way. It is a choice. So life might feel like it's pushing you down, but resilience is standing back up, because sometimes slower than you'd like, sometimes shakier than you'd hope, but standing up all at the same time. That is what resilience is, my friends. And that is what is going to keep you on your path. That is going to be what keeps you going every single day. So build your resilience, embrace the new beginnings and all the fresh starts. And the beauty of that is your story is going to help someone else, because at the end of the day, we're here to help one another. I'm here to help you build your confidence, build your resilience for you to keep going. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of I've Been There. If today's conversation resonated with you, please subscribe, share this with a friend who might need it, and leave a review so others can find our community. I would love to hear your thoughts on resilience, what helps you bounce back when life throws you a curveball. Reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram at Shelby Ray or Shelby Ray Beauty, or drop a comment wherever you're listening. Remember, you're stronger than you think, and every new beginning can be the start of something beautiful. I've been there, and I believe in the power of your journey. Talk to you next time.